Judy Wells is our first feature tonight. She has written 12 poetry books, including her trilogy of Irish-themed works, Everything Irish, Call Home, and The Glass Ship. Judy's latest collection, Dear Phoebe, The Dickinson Sisters Go West, is a memoir novella in poetry and prose about her New England to California Dickinson ancestors. She is, in fact, a distant cousin of Emily Dickinson. Her poetry has appeared in Veils, Halos, and Shackles, International Poetry on the Oppression and Empowerment of Women, Women Right Resistance, San Francisco Peace and Hope, California Quarterly, the Marin Poetry Center Anthology, Stanford Alumni Magazine, Psychological Perspectives, Persimmon, and Levure Littéraire. Judy's new collection is due out later this year. It's called Night at the Musée d'Orsay, Poems of Paris and Other Great European Cities. She lives in Berkeley with her husband, poet Dale Jensen. Learn more about Judy at her website, judywellspoet.com. Without further ado, I'd like to bring up Judy Wells.
Hi, everybody. Can you see me okay? Am I coming through all right? Great. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming. I see a lot of friends and relatives from very different aspects of my life, and then people I've met through the Rivertown Poets too, so it's great. I'd like to read from my book, well, my forthcoming book, Night at the Musée d'Orsay, Poems of Paris and Other Great European Cities. And this is the cover of it, if you can see that. And there we go. I'm going to read the title poem first from the collection. Night at the Musée d'Orsay. If the curators knew I, a moth, was in the Van Gogh room at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris, they'd be shocked. But what do they expect? I love light, and I'm particularly attracted to a painting of stars, globs of light reflected in a river. I've sat on top of these yellow blobs and survived somehow, though I can feel the heat of these stars right through the paint. Light bulbs are cold by comparison, though I'm not singed by Van Gogh. Somehow I'm transformed and waves of ecstasy wander through my wings. I rest on Van Gogh's stars all night, and in the morning I flit to a cottage with a voluptuous garden and settle on a deep blue iris. The tourists think I'm part of the painting. I laugh. I'm just a moth with grand taste. The next poem is called On Seeing the Chagall Ceiling at the Paris Opera. I once saw dans un livre, in a book, Marc Chagall, the painter, standing on top of his creation, the Paris Opera ceiling, still laid out on the floor of his atelier. His paintbrush was as large as a broom, and an explosion of blue, red, and yellow surrounded him, a vast ocean of color. And he, a small Odysseus with his picayune broom, was exploring the universe. Now I stand before this universe in the Paris Opera, looking upward, picking out the Eiffel Tower, lovers, ballet dancers, heads which look in both directions. I pick out names, L'Oiseau de Feu, Daphnis et Chloé, and then Le Petit Nom, the little name of Chagall himself. And I see again Le Petit Homme, the little man, from whose hands and from whose heart has sprung this ocean of a ceiling, surrounded by gilded curlicues and angels of another century. The man is dead, and I am of this century, the new millennium, as Chagall is of the old, but let his colors blaze through my life. Come, Chagall, surround me with blue. Let me sleep with blue roosters. Let me dance with red suns and moons, yellow ballerinas. Let me look in two directions at once with my one good eye, and let me penetrate a heaven of no rosy cherubs, but of vast blue angels. The next one I'm going to read is called the Matisse T-shirt. And this is the artwork that I'm referring to. It's called Icarus from Jazz, done in Paris, 1947 by Matisse. The Matisse T-shirt. I saw it in a catalog advertising chic artistic things to wear. A Matisse Jazz T-shirt, 100% cotton in true Matisse blue. Icarus falling soundlessly through space, so said the ad. But when I pulled it from its package and over my chest, all I could hear were sounds, gunfire, brilliant shattered stars of yellow. One direct hit, the red dot on Icarus' heart, his black body falling, a crucifix, through Matisse's true blue jazz sky. And the sounds were so loud, I knew I could not wear this image blazed on my chest, not here in Oakland, not here in Berkeley, not here in Richmond, where gunfire rings out in the night, crossfire at dawn, and black Icarus lies in a pool of brilliant red, day after day after day. The next one, I'm getting back to the city of Paris. It's called Paris, c'est l'enfer. Paris is hell. Paris, c'est l'enfer. Et je peux le dire moi, parce que je suis parisienne. Paris is hell, said our taxi driver. And I can say that because I'm Parisian. And yet the traffic was light in the steady rain. It was the feast of the Ascension, and Paris had emptied its hordes. And no, our taxi driver would not leave town too, but in a few weeks he would go to Brittany with his wife, une Bretonne. Things have changed, I thought. And I imagined the creamy white, rosy-cheeked Celtic wife with this handsome, dark-skinned, clean-cut North African man. And I slid back into Nice so many years ago when the North African Arab men hissed at me as I walked down the streets. Psst, psst, even though I turned around and glared at them. It was their game, immigrant workers without women, taunting a female tourist in the miniest of skirts and tiny turquoise halter top. The only time in my life I was ever bronze, a skin which later peeled off suddenly in England to reveal my real Celtic white and pink. Today in Paris, dark-skinned North Africans are still thrown up against walls and asked for their carte d'identité by la police. We saw it 4 years ago in the metro, but other Arab sons have grown to manhood, like this taxi driver, assimilated and intermarried, though the Bretons too are outsiders with their own language. I wonder now what our taxi driver really meant when he said, Paris, c'est l'enfer, Paris is hell. Did he only mean the traffic, or did he mean the steady draining rain of racisme, racism? The next poem, I'm going to take you back to Van Gogh here. He resided in a sort of a mental asylum in Saint-Paul-de-Moselle in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence from May 1889 to May 1890. And right next to it is a Roman ruin, Glanum, with a temple to Valetudo. So I incorporated that in my poem. Asile, asylum. O Valetudo, Roman goddess of good health, you who calmed poor Vincent's mind, calm mine. You who helped Van Gogh produce 100 drawings, 150 paintings in a year, help me produce plus de poèmes, more poems, plus de paroles, more words, more yellow, blue, and green moments of praise to this swirling world of wind, trees, stone, and stars, tourists and cars, art sellers, postcard sellers of stamps, pottery, ice cream, billets, tickets to l'Asile de Saint-Paul, billets, tickets to Les Bories, billets, tickets to Roman ruins, billets to musée, billets to toilette, billets to the universe. Let all the tickets swirl together into a giant tunnel of plain trees. May they transform into birds, billets to birds, tickets to birds, who sing hope for the universe, who sing love, who sing nothing, who don't know how to drive, but no loss. They fly off, even in my head, and express my desire to go là-bas, where, as Baudelaire says, there are no tickets, billets, but all is order and beauty, luxury, peace, and sensuality. I'm going to take you to Spain now, and I hope this is probably one of the most famous Spanish paintings by Velázquez called Las Meninas, and I'm centering on this child here in the photo. Whatever happened to the golden child of Las Meninas? Whatever happened to the golden girl of Las Meninas, the beautiful child, the Infanta Margarita that Velázquez painted almost with a halo like Jesus? Whatever happened to Margarita? As a young girl, she was betrothed to Emperor Leopold I of Austria. No problem that he was both her uncle and cousin. No problem that he was 11 years her senior. At 15, the golden girl was sent from Madrid to Vienna, married with 2 years of pomp, ballet, and opera, fireworks exploding far into the night. Within a few years, the golden girl had birthed 4 babies. Only one survived. She was no longer quite the golden child, whose full-skirted portraits in pink dress, blue dress, were sent off to Vienna before her departure from Spain to keep the emperor informed of her appearance and upkeep. Whatever happened to the golden woman, now Empress of Austria and the Holy Roman Empire? She died at age 21, worn out by endless births and miscarriages, I suppose. That once radiant little girl in the white dress with her golden locks served by her maids and a forthright dwarf, painted by the famous Velázquez, surrounded by light, almost a saint with her halo hair, was no more. I gasped when I learned she had died. Now her portraits fascinate, those enormous skirts, those stately poses in 17th century golden age garb. In the 20th century, Picasso pondered this golden girl, deconstructed her in his own style, made her yellow, green, blue, black, and white, made Velázquez himself enormous by her side, painting her parents. But I still remember the golden child, a girl like Jesus, so young, so innocent, almost holy in an age of power. Whatever happened to the golden girl of Las Meninas? She's still there in the Prado, staring at me in her hoop skirt, holding her pose for millions of viewers, wishing perhaps she could drink from the cup offered to her by her lady in waiting, wishing perhaps she could play with her dog. Las Meninas, 1656. My last poem, this is what happens when you go to Italy. You run into religious ceremonies, and since I was raised a Catholic, this happened to me. Pentecost in Orvieto, Feast of La Polombella, which means the Feast of the Dove, or actually it was the Feast of the Holy Spirit, but as symbolized by the dove. I step into the Duomo, the cathedral at Orvieto, to attend the 10 o'clock high mass, and am met by an usher. A procession files before me. A cadre of priests carrying tall candles, a golden bishop in his pointy hat, then a procession of pairs. I am prepared for the men in dresses, having been raised a Catholic and never thinking twice about this transvestism as a child. But the procession of pairs astonishes me. Dark-haired, dark-eyed Italians, beautifully Sunday dressed, the older encircling the younger with an arm, protective, tender, a guardianship, male and female. I feel I am in a dream, an initiation rite of old in a temple of mysteries. But I know what the mystery is as the beautiful pairs file before me. The adolescents are to be confirmed in their faith by the bishop on this special day, not just in Orvieto, but in all of Christendom, Pentecost. 50 days after Easter, after Christ has arisen, today the Holy Ghost will descend on his apostles. The dove will confer on them tongues of fire so they can go out into the world and spread the gospel. The gospel in all languages. What better day than Pentecost, the feast of La Palombella here in Orvieto, to confirm these adolescents in their faith. I confess I have not professed the Catholic faith in years, but the procession sent me reeling back to my own adolescence when I was a believer, when I studiously learned my catechism so I could answer any question a bishop might ask me at my confirmation. I would gain a new name, accept the sign of the cross on my forehead, the light slap on my face, the sitting in pews, hoping it was not I who had to answer a question by the bishop. The procession of Italian pairs finally passes. Settled in my own pew, I witness the glorious high mass, the shaking of the golden incense burner, the holding of the jeweled gospel book on high. But it is the music which soars from the organ and polyphonic choir that takes me back to my teens, the glorious Latin, the sung Mass, the Kyrie eleison, the Gloria in excelsis Deo, the Credo. Why, I can sing along. Latin, the sung tongue of my youth. My spirit soars with the smell of pungent incense, the pure voice of the priest, the pairs finally ascending the altar to the bishop, the young ones to receive their chrism, their slap, their cheek kiss, their confirmation, still encircled by the arm of their guardian. Oh, guard them, dear sponsor, from the hands of wayward priests. Then each young person speaks of their hopes and prayers to the congregation in Italian, sweet, earnest, oh, innocence before the fall into your teenage years, when you will forget all you have confirmed today and enter the conflicts of adulthood. But today you are pure, I too. And so I joined the congregation after the transubstantiation of the Mass, when bread and wine are transformed into the body and blood of Christ. Oh, strange sacrifice, oh, strange mystery, oh, strange meal. And I partake of the bread, a host given to me, which I place in my mouth, as the priest says, Corpo di Cristo. I return to my seat, not a hypocrite, but a renewed child, happy to be with these Italians to whom I've said pace, and this is what I feel, pace, peace in the Duomo of Orvieto on Pentecost. Thank you all for listening.